In this video, I'm just going to take you through a time-lapse drawing of mine and basically give some insight into my drawing process. So here I'm just sort of going with the flow. I'm not really using any building shapes for mapping out the body in this piece. I do use a line of action in the center, and that basically is to help create energy and movement. Before I center everything around this one big swoopy line, the piece is looking like a little bit stiff and just lifeless and boring. So normally I will use building shapes to help me like build the body, but in this piece I had a pretty clear idea already of what pose I wanted the character to be in, and I'm just using the selection tool to like move things around if it's looking a little bit weird. And then here I'm just making the face. It took me a few tries. I was really struggling with the face just because my personal style has a lot of like lines and wrinkles when it comes to the face, and when I was doing that it looked really like old manish no matter what I did. Like it looked like an old man face on a young girl's body and it just didn't look good. And then I tried this anime style and that was looking pretty scary, so what I ended up doing is I just went online and looked at some references, and a lot of people just use these like really simple like lines for eyes, and so I ended up just doing that. And I think it looks really cute and it meshes better with the body than anything that I had on before, so I'm pretty happy with how the face turned out in the end. Then I'm just drawing on the clothes, and I'm basically just using the body underneath as like a mannequin for the clothes, and that just helps me get the proportions right when I'm drawing like really like baggy clothes on someone. And then I gave the character like a little bit of context in the background as well. So there's like papers flying everywhere and she's like happy and like dancing and stuff. So I wanted it to be like, hey, like school's out, I don't need my homework anymore, I can just throw them everywhere. And she's like super free-spirited and just like full of joy. Those papers actually never end up making it into the final piece just because I got really lazy and I didn't want to draw them all in again. But I still think it's a really cute idea, even though right now it's nowhere near summer, so school is very much in session when I drew this, but whatever. And then I just went ahead and lined the piece here, which I never end up using in the final piece either, so the reason I got rid of the line work in the end is because I wanted her to be like a really like messy character and just have hair flying everywhere and like threads falling off of her clothes and stuff like that, and the line work was pretty suffocating when I wanted her to be such a like free character, right? Like it felt like it was closing her off. So I ended up getting rid of it, but it did help me lay down all this color, so that was actually really helpful anyways. And then I'm just like fixing up the lines and everything, like the gaps in where the line work was. And then here I just add a little bit of blush to her body, so I'm blushing up her thighs and her cheeks and her fingers and stuff like that. And then I give her some shading, and this part's probably my favorite part in the whole process because it really like helps bring things together and make things look a lot more dynamic and lifelike. So with my drawing style at least, it doesn't really look good in flat color, and so when I'm shading and when I'm blushing, everything really starts to look like a finished piece. So that's probably why I like shading so much. And then the shading's looking a little bit harsh here. I use this like really deep purple, so I end up fixing that later on. Not that it looks like horrible, I just think it looks a little bit too like contrasty, and I didn't want to give her like that harsh of a lighting for this piece. I wanted it to look pretty softly lit, so I ended up fixing that later on. So you can see like I go back and forth a lot in my drawing process, and that's the beauty of like digital art. I just use Procreate on the iPad for this piece, and so yeah, it's really easy to fix any mistakes or clean up and touch up anything that you really don't like in your piece. At some point I would like to try like more traditional mediums, but right now my like lack of skill and money are sort of preventing me from wanting to go out and make that big change, and branching out a little bit. But I would really like to get into like watercolors or like Prismacolors and Copics at some point. I also am just adding like a lot of detail to her clothes right now, so her cardigan's looking like a little bit frayed and stuff like that, and that really helps with the characterization for me, like adding some personality and some backstory. I wanted her to seem like an airhead and like really clumsy and stuff like that, so I feel like the messy clothes like really add to that aesthetic. And then I just tweak some things around and basically just add some highlights. At this point in the drawing, normally I flip my canvas back and forth, and I found that when I flipped it, her stomach and her head looked a little bit weird, so I just fixed that up in the final piece. Lastly, I added some teeth and I added my signature, and that's pretty much the entire drawing. So I really liked the way this piece turned out in the end, especially her socks. Like in anime you always see girls wearing these knee-high or thigh-high socks, and they like never slip down and they never like bunch up or anything like that, which I find to be not true at all. Like I've worn knee-high socks before and they're really annoying and they slip all the time, so I really wanted to like add some realism and give her like these like gross flappy socks. So yeah, that's the finished piece. If anyone can think of any names for her, definitely leave those in the comments below. I'll probably feature her in a couple more drawings, but that is my drawing process from start to finish for this character. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!